Hi Flosstube, welcome to Grandma's World. I'm Debbie and I have been absent for a while. In fact, I went and looked back at my channel and the last upload was in July. And that is not to say that I haven't been recording. I have actually recorded video, I've edited video, and when it would be all done and I would kind of be looking at it, I'd say this is not what I want to put out there. So I have recorded video, it just hasn't been put up on the channel, and I'm hoping to do a little better. The ones, for the most part, I had like July, August, September, something like that, a few. And that was a hard summer. And so I come across as completely deranged instead of just a little bit nutty and eccentric, but I couldn't put that out there. And then last month, the beginning of January, I did one where I shared all my plans for the Magazine Monthly Challenge and Baringo, and under the kind of an under the table Whip Go plan, and I just never got it uploaded. The month got crazy and I ended up, you say, I can't even put this up. None of it came true. None of my plans, well, I can't say that. Some of my Magazine Monthly Challenge plans did plan out, but I also ended up giving that up about 2/3 of the way through because another project caught my attention, and I put a lot of time into that, and I'll explain that in just a few minutes. I hope just a few minutes. Oh, it was also very long, almost 2 hours long because of all of the monthly challenge stuff. You know, so much of it didn't get done. I said, no, I'm not even going to upload that. So I'm going to start with finishes, and because of the Magazine Monthly Challenge, I did stay focused on a few things and got them finished. Now, I don't think I'm going to do that again, or if I do, it's going to be tweaked a little bit. Because I ended up I started things, and I've done this every time I've done any kind of a bingo format challenge, or even the acrostics are the same way. I so want to be a part of it, I so want to do it, that I end up starting things that I never touch again, and I'm just not going to do that anymore. I'm going to pick a few focus things for the year, and I'm going to do figure out ways to work those into any kind of a challenge that I'm a part of. So finishes though for Magazine Monthly Challenge, this, and I'm not going to remember all of them, but I do know that this was the theme piece, and it also was the smallest whip piece, but I had finished it in one evening, and it was from, I want to say Just Cross Stitch, which is, I think it was Just Cross Stitch. Do I have it here? Yeah, I do. It's really, if I look, I'm really bundled up. I am. My house is cold. Southern California doesn't know cold, at least along the beach. We don't know cold the way that you folks in the Midwest right now are experiencing cold. But we also, like, I don't have a heater. My heater, it hasn't worked for 2 or 3 years, and I haven't replaced it because I don't really need to. I live alone. I have a space heater behind me. You could probably hear it whirring. I have another one in my bedroom, and the rest of the time I have fireplaces. I have a fireplace in the room in the evening if I want to stitch. I don't have any I don't have television, so it's not like I get cold sitting and watching TV. At any rate, no, yes, it's from justcrossstitch.com, February 2021. And I think it's going to be a pillow. I'm starting to collect things to put in a container in my Valentine display. So that was for that. And then I should have brought the whole chart, I guess. But I didn't, so I'll just remember what I can. I'm sure you don't care anyway. This was my oldest whip. It's from the 90s. It's a Debbie Mum piece. I got this far on it, and my entry decor for the only 2 holidays, let's see if I can put this behind my ears so it might be more comfortable. The only 2 holidays that I really decorate several rooms for are Halloween and Christmas, and for the rest I just want to do the shelf that's in my entry. And it is, I have a Boyd's Bear collection of beekeeper teddy bears and gardener teddy bears, and that's kind of where it starts. And then last year, it was springtime when I finally gave in and started looking at some Rae Dunn and fell in love with it. And so I have some of the bee stuff to include with that. And so I thought, and I also have a quilt that I'm making, a wall hanging that has a scarecrow, and she's on, the fabric around her is sunflower fabric. So they all kind of are working together in there. Anyway, this is, like I said, it's a Debbie Mum piece, and it kind of goes along with the whole sunflower summer feel to it. And I would like to get this finished this year, but I had stopped the Baringo before I got to it, so I didn't even do it on Baringo. But that, as far as this video goes, I'm setting a few goals for the year of projects I'd like to finish. I won't be doing Mania because I don't want to start a bunch of stuff, and I won't be starting anything just to be able to fill out an acrostic, and I probably won't be going to a magazine always to be able to do an acrostic if I can't justify like this one. I might put this one in for the theme for the Magazine Monthly Challenge for February. The theme is food. And I might put this here because this little bunny is going to eat all of these sunflowers for food. And that lets me work on this for the month of February. But the point is to try to, I want to get it done by June 1st because that's when I want to put up that summer display. And then this is another one I want to finish this year. I want to finish this by Juneteenth and then have it up for the 4th of July. And it's Lindy Stitch's A Stitch for Sweet Freedom. And this is as far as I am. And I will tell you, over the last few years, my patriotism took a bit of a hit because I was feeling like the country was going in the wrong direction. And so I didn't even, one year I didn't put anything up for the 4th of July because I was kind of done. And when I read this, A Stitch for Sweet Freedom and one for Being Kind, 2 more for diversity, the last for a humble mind, I said, there's my 4th of July piece for last year. I didn't get it quite done, but I'm looking forward to having it done for this year. And I figured since I'm, you know, I want to put it up for the 4th of July, I might as well just move that up a couple of weeks, get it done for Juneteenth and have it up to honor my friends of color. So, and I did do some of this, all of this down here was the evening that this was on for the Baringo board. I did all of this part of her skirt that evening. You only needed to do an hour. But that's not how I do. I didn't want to be sitting a timer and saying, okay, your hours up, because I lose track of time doing this. Cross stitch is one of my flow activities. And I lose track of time, and that's okay because it's a hobby. I don't have to time myself. And so if I can just get myself into the room, get myself in the stitchy chair, and get everything out and get started, then I'll go for 3 or 4 hours. So that's what that was. And then I have this one that I'd like to work in. I'll see what the themes look like, but I would love to finish this. This is Stitching with the Housewives, Priscilla Blain. It was in punch needle and primitive embroidery. And I loved it too, and it has the sunflowers and it has the bee skep on it, so I think it would really go well with that theme of that shelf. So I might get started on this in hopes that I can finish it by summer. And that's where the acrostic works in nicely, if I can get it in there. just to remind me to get it out, because I'll go in and stitch and not have any goals for it. And things don't get finished. I have fun, but things don't get finished, and that's the focus. I want to get some of these pieces done. This is my patriotic. I started making project bags for myself, and this was the one I did for Stitch for Sweet Freedom. And then another piece that I'm focusing on this year is Shores of Hawkrun Hollow. And this is where, so I finished block 1. Here we go. Let's do 3. Block 1. Block 2, I made some adjustments in it to make it fit the story I'm trying to tell here. And block 3, I took the tree out in the front because I thought it was silly looking. And now I'm on block 4, which is finished except for the pin stitches. I put in 3 of them, decided yes, it needs the pin stitches, and so I wanted to have that done by the end. It was actually one of my acrostic goals, I think, and the other thing came up and I ended up not working on it. I have no fantasy of finishing. First of all, this is going to go in this room that I'm sitting in. It's going to go in my guest room, and I can tell it's going to go on that wall that's right behind me. It's going to look really good back there. I don't have any fantasies about getting it finished in this calendar year, but I would like to make quite a lot of progress on it. And I don't know, if I got to feeling the feelings I was feeling with the project that I did do instead of the rest of the Magazine Monthly, I could get a lot done on it. But that's not something that has to happen. How can I say this? There are some pieces that I want to be sure I'm working on every month, meeting a monthly goal with them and hoping to finish them, like a Stitch for Sweet Freedom. And I have another one. It's I didn't bring it in here, but it's someone finished the block that got me hooked on it on Instagram, and it's the Snowflower Diaries Joyful World calendar. And this person had finished the June. Well, the June one, June is my birthday, first of all. And then the June block had a bear and a bee skip. And I said, well, that will be perfect for my entry. So I wanted to get that done. And then while I was getting it, it's a free chart on their website. No, it's on her blog. It's on the blog. And then going down through the different options, I realized the December one is really pretty too, and I liked it. So I'm kind of looking at adding that later. But for this year, I'd like to finish the June block, the June piece by my birthday in June, so I can put it on that shelf. And so but that's kind of a thing I want to work on continuously to get that done. And then I signed up for, and I don't have the, I have the charts come once a month. Charts come once a month from Donna Bayless at By the Bay NeedleArt, and it's called Home Sweet Home, and the first one is Rosewood Manor, and I was able to finish that last night except for the fence. And I figured I'd wait, because there are a lot of fences in the overall pattern. I thought I'd wait until I had them all done except for the fence, and then go back and do all the fences at once. And then I did, and it's hard to see because the lighting in here isn't great, but it's a shrub on either side. It's total symmetry on this one. Shrub on either side. Excuse me. There's a shrub on either side with red flowers on it. And I went through and did the cross stitch for the red flower that was called for, and then added French knots. And I'll do that on all of the houses that have those bushes with flowers on them. And then this is what the whole thing looks like. So it's a monthly, and as of my finish last night, I'm only 2 months behind, because I got the first one done. and they come out the first week of November, or first week of the month, so I will be 3 behind. But I want to be getting consistent work done on these. Again, I don't have any fantasies of finishing it. It took me the whole month to January. And no, the first one. The first one came out in November, so it took me until January to get that one done. But it's a joy to work on, and it's, you know, when people pick up their work and go like this, it looks like a big piece. And there's a lot of stitches in there. Ginger Gerald warned me there's a lot of stitching in this. It's surprising. But when you put it up, you know, like by my head, or just put my hand by it, it's not very big. However, the piece is going to be huge, and it's going to take my whole half a yard of, I'm using BeStitch Me's Garden Party, and I'm using the light side of it. This is what the dark side looks like. The colors are more vibrant here in the dark side, but I didn't want that competition, so I am using the more subdued back side of it. And there is supposed to be a cloud here in the middle, and I love the modeling from this fabric so much. To me, it reminds me of a sunset or a sunrise. So it would be sunrise, I guess, because that's on the East Coast. I decided not to put the cloud in there. I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna keep an eye on where these patches of color, this one's pretty dramatic over here. I'm just gonna keep an eye out for where these patches of color appear and see if I can incorporate the color into the design rather than just covering it over. So I did that finish, and then the big finish, the one I really, really wanted to make by the end of the month, although it's not, I don't need it till Thanksgiving. I fell in love as soon as someone shared it with this chart. It's Cherry Hill Stitchery's An Autumn Wish. And I immediately ordered fabric for it and got started on it. And the fabric I ordered was Irish Cream from my vintage NeedleArts. And I've almost finished it. All I had left to do on it were the little birds. There are 3 little birds in there, and some flowers, the little flowers that go in these curly cues. And I got it this far, and I said, I'm not gonna like this. This piece is gonna bug me for the rest of my life. I love this one, but the centerpiece of this one, the focal point of this one is this, the pumpkin, the white pumpkin, and it does not jump out of this fabric at all. In fact, I've done extra work on this. I back stitched all the way around it. I added up here a whole second set of stitches on top of the first, and it's just the wrong fabric. I chose the wrong fabric for this chart, and so I folded it up, put it away, ordered new fabric. I hope I have it in here. Again, from my vintage NeedleArts. Oh, fiddlesticks. Oh, yeah, duh. And restocked on my floss. I had already made some changes, like this is not the called for color for these letters. I used mulberry instead, and these are not the called for colors for the hearts. I used Threadworks cayenne pepper for this one. But I had used the green, and I had used the whitewash. What are the greens? Are chives and collards, and then whitewash for the pumpkin itself. And I had done all of that on the Irish Cream, so I had to reorder it to have enough to do it on the new color. So the new color, again, here is the old, and this is the new. It's Vintage NeedleArts. It's called Truffle. I only work on Aida, and this, I believe, is 16. And I was able to finish it. I think I had it 5 times on Baringo and 5 nights on the acrostic. But that is so much better. I made a few mistakes, like this up here. Well, I think it's this one down here, actually. This leaf was supposed to be one color, and I did it a different color, and then kind of just decided to keep going with that color. I really like the darker leaves. The hearts are Threadworks Cayenne Pepper. The letters are Mulberry, which is a NeedleArts color. And the little birds, I think I kept the called for color on that. It looks like it was DMC 921. And then what ended up delighting me, and I kind of dreaded doing them because they were so kind of nitpicky, but these little bitty flowers are speckled all through that vine thing. Let's see if I can get moved over. I'm so far off with this new space. Over here, we'll look at this one. And each of these little kind of gold flowers has a white flower next to it. And those little white flowers sparkle. It just sparkles all through this piece in person. So I'm really happy with this. Really thrilled. And I will have it finished. I've already picked out the fabric out of my quilting stash to kind of make the Priscilla Blain finish on it. Those are my finishes from Magazine Monthly. I did do other things. I did meet my goals on, I think, up through day 18 on Baringo. But at about that point, I have had a quilt languishing for a long time. I started it in 2005. I was inspired by a pattern by Barry Sue Godet, who is Bare Roots Design, and I started it in 2005, and I only worked on it on vacation. My husband and I had a second home for a while in northern Utah, and we would go there, and there were no dogs and not a lot of dirt. I kept it very clean, and so it was a safe place to work on the quilt. And then sold that. Husband died, sold the condo. Now I'm full-time at this house, but I still don't have any furry pets, and so everything stays clean. And I've worked on it over the years, a little bit here and a little bit there, and I enjoy it. I only work on it when I'm ready to enjoy it, and consequently I have loved every stitch I took on this thing. But about the 17th or 18th of January, I started feeling some anxiety about life, and not my life, but just an anxiety that pushed me to say, I want to finish this. I want to make sure that I get this done. And so I put everything away. I put all the Magazine Monthly Challenge stuff away, and I just got the quilt out, and then I started working on the quilt, and I finished it. And it's very lovely. And so I'm going to tack that onto the end of this video. I'm actually almost done with this video. So I want to do that. And then I also had, when I did the last stuff at the beginning of January, I did a little bit of a tour of this room to talk about the finishes that are in this room. And so I'm also going to tack that on. So I think I'm going to beat the 4 gigabytes and keep my battery, and I'm just going to sign this off and say thanks for coming in, and I hope you enjoy my Oceania finishes, and, or actually my New England finishes is what they are, and the quilt that I finished this month. See you next time. Bye. So this is what's been monopolizing my discretionary time for the last couple of weeks. I started this quilt with a purchase from, I think it was called the Village Dry Goods Store in Brigham City, Utah. Village Dry Goods. And it was a Barry Sue Godet pattern called What Color is Spring? And Barry Sue Godet is the designer behind Bare Roots Stitchery. I am a huge fan of Bare Roots. I have collected a lot of her patterns, some of her books, and I fell in love with the pattern for this. It wasn't this though. It was a 29 by 29 inch wall hanging with about a 4-inch. I think it was applique in the middle, and I decided instead to put in, I'd been wanting to do this Crabapple Hill sampler, and I couldn't really figure out where I was going to put it. So I thought, I'm just going to put that in the middle of that What Color is Spring quilt. And so that, of course, increased the size. When your center is this big, it's going to be a lot smaller than when your center is this big. Then, and I didn't really think that through when I got started. Then I went to my mom. My mom is a quilter. She had a quilt shop for a while. She has a lot of fabric stashed. And I went to her stash to buy the colors for all of these pieced strips. And as I was going through her stash, I found this collection of oranges or peaches or whatever color you want to call it. I call it the oranges. And I said, ooh, I want to add that in there as well. So now I have increased the size of the quilt by that much. So it got big, and as it got big, the designs that Barry Sue had designed were not fitting in these muslin strips, and I had to do some changes. For the most part, all I really did was add to what she'd already designed. So she had these, I call these the Hollyhocks, and she had, what she had designed filled the strip for the smaller quilt, and I just made it bigger. Same with the hearts across the top and bottom. I just added more to fill more space. But because I had added this stripe of orange, or this ring of orange going around, I needed another design for the orange, and this is actually from one of Barry Sue's books, and it turned out to be my favorite, I think, of all of them in the scope of the whole thing, although I love every bit of it. I have loved every single stitch I took on this. I did it over a long period of time, about 15 years. For the first few years, I only worked on it when we would visit Utah, because there were no furry animals in our condo up there. We didn't take the dog, and I didn't want to get fur and slobbers all over this, so I would only work on it up there. And then, from time to time, I'd just say, oh yeah, I haven't worked on that quilt for a while, and I'd pull it out and have fun with it. I'm really fond of these. Let's see if I can get it to focus with the little chickies. The only thing that I really changed, other than expanding the lines, making it bigger, was this one here. She had the little, for example, this little flying insect is hers, and the French knot snake or worm, whatever that is hers, and the ladybugs are hers, and the snail is a favorite of mine, and it is one of hers. But again, it was too small. I think the bee is also one of hers. It was too small, and she did have flowers. They were in a kind of a field of flowers, and I wasn't loving it as I was putting it together. To me, with this green ring here, this was just screaming for spring grass, and so I bought some overdyed. I think I used Weeks Kiwi in this, and just stitched a whole field of green grass across the bottom. And then as I was working on it, I said, you know, I love monarch butterflies. I raise monarch butterflies and release them. You know, I take them in as eggs and raise them, and then put them back out in the yard. And they aren't represented anywhere on the quilt. And so what I did was just take a piece of orange floss and a piece of black floss and make these little, I kind of couched the Lazy Daisy stitch to come up with these butterflies, and just threw those all in there. I was really happy with that. And then working with this color so much, I said, you know, this garden needs a praying mantis. And so I just went online to see what they look like and made myself a mantis. This was back when I really liked praying mantis, but they eat my caterpillars in my garden, so now they're not exactly welcome in my yard. And just to kind of, this is the blue row. So it has the birdhouse. This is actually a bird kind of aiming downhill with a worm in its mouth. Let's see if I can get it again here. And forget-me-nots, and the birds go across the top. The first strip I did was this outside strip, because I was stitching, I did all of the embroidery through the bat. So there is a big piece of batting under there, and all of the embroidery goes through it, which holds the top to the batting pretty nicely. I think, yeah, I made the butterflies in the green strip that goes around. It's a vine. Made them the orange and black too. And then the yellow, it's an applique for the sun. And then the bees and some butterflies, and comes down around to sunflowers. So it's done. I got it to the point over the last 2 weeks. I finished the quilting on the strips, and it gave it kind of that puffiness that I wanted. With the fabric strips, there's no quilting here. It's just, I just wanted this to set them off texturally from each other. And then I added a binding. So this is the back. And I got the binding finished last night, and then I had to do this last row of quilting, and I got that done last night. So it's essentially done. I still need to put a sleeve on it so that I can put it on a wall. I used too much overdyed flosses in this to ever use it on a bed, because it can't be cleaned, it can't be washed. So it's just going to go on a wall for a while. after I show it off a little bit. So just again, in case I didn't do it, this is I always get the name of this company mixed up with another one, and so it never wants to come out right. It is rats. I keep wanting to call it, well, Cinderberry is Natalie Limer in Australia, and then I want to call it Cider Mill, and it's not that. And now it's not going to come into my old head, so I'm just going to hope that I already said it at the beginning of this clip and go ahead and put it in as text after I look it up again. So that's my project. Get to check a big one off. One more thing I'd like to do before I leave. I'm sitting in my guest room. This was one of the 2 rooms that I did major work on over the last 2 years. And there will be, I had recorded content of all of the work. It will be a house, what did I say? There's going to be a playlist for house projects. It will be in there. I haven't had time to go searching through all the different video that I took over the last 2 years and try to decide how to present it. But it turned out even better than I wanted it to be. I love it in here. Everybody I bring in here says, this room is so restful. And it's a surprise because I am a color whore. I saturate my walls. Anytime I paint anywhere, it is saturated. And I'm not afraid to use really dark colors. And so that's what I did in here. And what I want to do, I'm not going to, it's a mess now because the bed is where I'm storing all the stuff that I just showed you. But I want to show you my finished pieces, my finished cross-stitch pieces that I have up in here now. I just framed the last one a couple of days ago and got it hung this morning. So I'm going to pick up the camera. Everything's very crooked over there. But just kind of walk around and show you some of the finishes that I've done that I've put in this room. All right, so this is the first one. It is a Plum Street sampler pattern chart called, now I can't remember, but they're pin keeps. I will look it up so I can correct myself in the description. But they're supposed to be 2 tiny little pin cushions. And I didn't know if I would ever make 2 tiny little pin cushions, but I fell in love with it. It's got my themes going here. It got a whale, and you've got a mermaid, and it says, "Friends are we, remember me." I flipped that. I don't think it mattered. So I put, the way I stitched it was, "Remember me, friends are we." This is a 10 Aida, and was not stiff. It was really floppy, and it was miserable to work on, but I loved the color of it. And so I kind of adjusted the chart, made some changes here and there. Like I put in a lot, I think I put in a lot more kelp to kind of fill the spaces. And then my thanks go out, and I'll tag them to Priscilla Blain for finishing ideas. The things that she does, I would have never thought to do things that way. But I am so enjoying finishing my pieces, kind of following her inspiration. And this is my favorite one so far. I found a board at Joann here. And then I used, my mother had gifted me with some ocean prints. So I don't know if you can see. These are, there's an octopus and, some coral and that kind of stuff in here. So I just followed her instructions in her tutorial. I used, I think all I could find at that point was the Joann sticky board, which is, it worked okay for what I was doing. So I used that and a glue gun and just took my time, paid attention to my corners, glued it all together, stuck it on the wall, and I am so happy with this. And I think that text Remember Me, Friends Are We, is perfect for a guest room. So I'm really happy with it. And now to the second one. So I have a collection of mermaids here. Rose O'Neill Cupies, Joey Chow. These are the mermaids. Joey Chow did all of the mural work in the It's a Small World ride at Tokyo Disney. And this is his Ariel and her sister's piece. I have a Mary Engelbright signed. I like to order signed prints and get the artist a little more credit. This one, though, is my cross-stitch piece. And my arm is going to probably fall off here, so I'm just going to go ahead and run down the whole thing. And then back off. So the piece is by Tiny Modernist. It's called, it's a Mermaid's Life, I think. And it doesn't look like this. It has palm trees and volcanic islands in the background. It only has one whale. It has a lighthouse in the foreground of that section. There's a lighthouse, there's a ship, there's another boat. And then under the ocean, there are, I didn't change a lot about the under the ocean part, except that this mermaid here, I changed not only for representation, but mostly to represent my friend, one of my best friends, longest friends, dearest friends, who turned me on to whale watching. And so I wanted her on this piece and changed the mermaid around so that it looked more like her. And then the island in the back, I live in Southern California, and when I go out whale watching, I go out into the Santa Barbara Channel. This is a silhouette of an island called Anacapa. If it is foggy, it is just kind of a black silhouette along the horizon. If you get closer to it, it's got plants and stuff on it. And it's not tropical, it's desert chaparral. But and then it has its own lighthouse on it called the Anacapa Lighthouse. And when we go, we see lots of whales, and often enough we see calves. So I removed the lighthouse that was up there. Let's see if I can point here. There had been a lighthouse here. I took it out and added some whales. And then there was a palm tree here. And there are no palm trees out in the channel. And I despise palm trees. So I just took it out and made her rock more like it. Her rock is actually the color that the island is when it's not in silhouette. I found the boards with the shelves at Joann in the unfinished furniture area. And then I did the fabric covering and everything. And these were buttons. One of my students gifted me with some sand dollar buttons one year. And so I put those on there. Mostly because I made a big mistake there and had to cover it up. So, and I did not collect the starfish. I bought the starfish. Someone else collected it, and I bought it at a shell shop, which is bad enough, but it sure makes a nice accent. So again, thank you, Priscilla, for your inspiration on this one. So I just hung this one. And it's in an awkward place. I'm not going to be able to do it justice. I used just, this is by the Bay NeedleArts Lighthouse. It's called the, rats, I'm not going to be able to remember. The Nedick. This is the Nedick Lighthouse off of York, Maine. But everybody calls it the Nubble. The piece of land that a lighthouse sits on is called the Nubble. And I got to tour around that lighthouse on my trip, my first trip to that part of Maine. And that was a magical day, and I wanted this souvenir. As soon as I saw she'd charted it, I wanted the souvenir of it. And so, like I said, I just used a stock frame. Sorry, it's like I'm on a boat in this weird, because my arm is... So those are my finishes from the one that's behind me there. I didn't do all of that this year. I actually had done a lot of it and then finished it in the last year and did the finishing on it in the last, obviously 2022. I'm not talking about 2022. 2021, I managed to finish it. I worked on it at my mom's house when I'd go visit her and then finish it up. But the other two, I think I did them all in 2021, so yay me, accomplishment. Yeah, and I spent more time at this than I thought I was going to. So much so, this room is on the west side of the house, and it's cold out there, but the room is still warming up, and so I'm sweating. I'm glowing. I'm not sweating, I'm glowing. So thanks for dropping by, and I hope that this wasn't too boring. But I know there are Rae Dunn people out there, I know there are Disney lovers out there, and I know that there are people that we cheer each other on, don't we, as we make progress on things. And it's always fun to see, for me to see anyway, how my friends, my Flosstube friends, are doing with their progress. See you next time. Bye.